I'm Dana Jacobson from CBS Saturday Morning. Welcome to The Dish. Today we travel across the Atlantic to visit 3 restaurants in 3 different European countries where local flavors are on the menu. In Portugal, we meet a chef who celebrates his roots in more than a dozen restaurants. And we travel to the small nation of Georgia, nestled between Europe and Asia, to meet a chef elevating that country's traditional cuisine. But we begin in the Tuscan countryside, where high school sweethearts George and Linda Myers settled after leaving behind their home in Virginia. They've transformed a 4th century Italian villa into a destination cooking school where visitors learn authentic techniques like pasta making from locals. I immersed myself in the once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Nestled in the Tuscan countryside is this villa, known as La Chiusa.
All of it, put it all in. Tutta.
The former oil mill, built in the 4th century, has taken on new life.
So that's this garlic. It's a little bit sweeter.
As a haven for food lovers.
You'll be able to taste it both ways.
The experience, called Cook in Tuscany, offers a week-long immersion in the region's cuisine.
I make all my own extract.
The founders, not Italians, but Americans.
If you were to dig in there, you would see that this truffle was around a little hair-like roots.
A couple from Virginia who fell in love with the country and culture.
Everybody has a purpose.
You are living what people fantasize about.
Yes.
We feel very fortunate that we do get to call this home, and every day we wake up and we think we're living a dream.
Yes. And I work for my wife, so there you go.
We all should be that lucky.
Yeah.
That's right. He's very
Linda.
lucky.
Yes.
George and Linda Myers are high school sweethearts who've been married for 38 years. Before moving here, Linda was a kindergarten teacher. George, a retired Air Force pilot who ran a business development firm in Washington, D.C. Both passionate about travel.
Before iPhones and before Google Maps, we would get out the paper map and we would actually go, let's go north, let's go south, let's go that way. And we would just drive.
We would.
We were in southern Spain once and we ended up in Morocco. So we don't plan much, we just go.
Italy topped their list of favorite vacation spots until Linda made a life-changing suggestion in 2011. What if they quit their jobs, sold their house, and moved to Tuscany?
And I said, well, worst thing could happen, Linda, we live in Italy for a year.
Yeah. And 2 weeks later, we were here.
2 weeks later, Linda was living in the village without Wi-Fi and all that.
No Wi-Fi. Didn't know the language.
Nah, we didn't have a plan.
We did not have a real plan.
Speak any Italian?
No.
She didn't know.
But I figured it out real quick.
Yeah.
Melanzane, which is the eggplant parm.
Within 2 years, George and Linda began connecting visitors with locals for cooking classes.
Antonetta over there.
The start of Cook in Tuscany.
Gianni means turn.
As their popularity grew, so did the business, with the couple purchasing La Chiusa for its home base in 2018.
I think sometimes people have in their mind, if you'd come in here, you'd change it and
No.
Americanize it.
Absolutely
And
not.
this is not. You are just wrapping yourselves within the community.
We are in their place, and we love their place, and we want to make sure we keep their place just the way they like it.
Yes.
Visitors pay about $4,000 to spend 7 days and 6 nights at La Chiusa. The price tag includes lots of food and wine and daily trips around Tuscany, both culinary and cultural.
And we book about 2 years out for Cook in Tuscany. And I have people who will send me $150 a month, and this is a trip of a lifetime for them. And so every week has to be fantastic.
Yes. This must be a bucket list
It
experience.
must.
Spugna, che c'è?
Which is the motivation for excursions like this.
Aspetta un attimo.
A truffle hunt led by a Jack Russell Terrier named Spugna, or Sponge,
Look at that, look.
on the vast grounds of Tenementi Andreucci,
You notice these are only like 6 inches under?
a nearby vineyard.
That's huge. We're lucky enough to be in their vineyard and at their home.
After that, a 7-course wine tasting paired with small plates, led by vintner Flavio Andreucci.
When you say Prosecco, you want to identify immediately a geographic area.
A 7th-generation winemaker who met George and Linda when they first moved to town.
To me, it seems special because they haven't tried to make it American here.
Well, honestly, It's not easy, and then surprise us because how fast they learn, honestly, to be really in deep understanding our tradition. So actually they are running a very successful business, and they share their business not only for us, with all the community around us.
Back at La Chiusa, one of the week's highlights is some time in the kitchen with Nonna Antonetta.
The palm of your hand.
If you want to learn how to make pasta,
It's a no-no.
it's the Nonna.
Definitely.
Yeah. They've been doing it since they were 4. We laugh sometimes because measurements are different. You know, they believe in like pour in the bag of flour, pour in a coffee cup of water.
Right.
There is no. Yeah. But every time theirs comes out perfect. And we try to tell our people, like, wait till Wednesday. You're really going to start feeling it, and you will know how to do it.
And that's when you're going to know the consistency.
That's when you're going to know.
An intuition developed while guests help create the very meals they eat, as I discovered firsthand with this typical Tuesday lunch. Among the 6 courses, melanzane, a fried eggplant, which we started our cooking lesson with hours earlier. Pollo nonna, a roasted chicken. Peachy, hand-rolled by our cooking class, and salsa aglione. Tuscan biscotti, which is cantucci, traditionally made with almonds. And panna cotta.
To me and to George, there's nothing better than when we gather everybody and we sit around the table and we get to know our guest, and they invite us to their homes and we get to do that. And to me, it's just an amazing experience.
Yeah.
It's the La Chiusa community, which George and Linda have cultivated. One New Jersey native, Teresa Paterno, embraced on one of her first trips since losing her husband to a heart attack.
You're traveling alone, but it doesn't feel like, from watching, that you feel alone here.
Absolutely not. From the very beginning, I felt like I was at home.
And seeing George and Linda's success has also served up some inspiration.
I want to own a bed and breakfast. It's been a dream of mine and my late husband's for a very long time. So being here has given me the confidence to pursue that in a greater way.
Wow.
I'm a baker, so I'm like, I could do this. They did it. I could do this. And they give you the courage to say that to yourself.
Right.
I call myself and George life changers because we literally changed our life. And we changed the path, and we changed it in a positive direction.
It doesn't mean selling everything and moving to an island.
No.
But there's little steps. What are you doing?
Absolutely.
Everybody can get there.
It feels like somebody who comes here for a week gets a little of that, maybe.
They do. And I really try to encourage that in people, like, don't put yourself in that little space. Open it up. You don't have to move to Italy. You might just want to take an art class in your hometown, and that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But do what makes you happy.
Up next, we meet an award-winning chef creating dishes that pop. Chef Jose Avilich has taken the Portuguese food scene by storm with his 18 restaurants in the country. He's adamant that his food encompassed what he calls the Portuguese way, meaning sharing is caring. Michelle Miller met up with him at his double Michelin star restaurant, Bel Canto.
From the Iberian Peninsula, panoramic views of the Atlantic are breathtaking and never lost on a native son with a global vision.
I love this wind and this aroma of sea.
Chef Jose Avilich grew up in Cascais, where he now claims a new window to this world.
Welcome to Maré. This was an old restaurant, but that closed like 35 years ago.
Oh.
I still came here with my father when I was a kid. It was called Raio Verde. And I remember then this was closed and become completely destroyed. And one day, the owner came to me and asked me if I wanted to open a restaurant here.
That ask based on his 20 years in the industry, one that began with private lessons from the mother of Portuguese cuisine, Maria de Lourdes Modesto. He then heightened his skills at El Bulli with Chef Ferran Adria. In 2009, he earned his first Michelin star at Restaurant Tavares.
Big products.
Oh, nice.
With cilantro, coriander.
Before stepping out on his own, he caught the eye of Anthony Bourdain in No Reservations.
Great meal. 20 euros.
It's good.
It's really nice.
In 2012, he opened Bel Canto, which earned its first Michelin star the same year. And over the next decade, he built an empire of 20 restaurants from Lisbon to Dubai.
I remember that the first menus, most of the Portuguese thought that I was destroying the traditional Portuguese cuisine.
Dishes like grilled sardines and octopus, flame-grilled chorizo, cod fritters, and custard tarts.
Most chefs hate the word fusion, but there is combination of influences here.
Fusion rhymes with confusion, so it's not, but it has influences. And I think that even what we call now the Portuguese traditional cuisine, 300 years ago it didn't exist. 400 like it is today. So traditional evolution is part of the tradition.
How would you describe the Portuguese way?
So I think one of the most special things that we have, the word comer.
Comer?
Comer. For us, comer is to share. To share is to care. We are trying to take care of the people who sit at our tables.
That sentiment was amplified by Frank Bruni's 2012 review in the New York Times.
And he said, I'm seeing the future of Portuguese cuisine, the best meal of the year, and in 3 days, the restaurant was full booked.
Reservations are now booked a year out.
What are we eating here?
There are some dishes from our a la carte menu.
It's a good thing we didn't need one.
This is the scarlet shrimp, the red shrimp from Algarve. It's very typical from here. It's kind of sweet, it has this amazing umami taste with a salad with asparagus and apple. The sauce is a curry. The Portuguese took the curry from India to Thailand. It's cooked rice with vegetable charcoal, and then we dried, we fry, we mix.
Yet he still finds a way to keep things informal.
May I use my hand for this?
Yes, you may.
Like how he claims to have toned down his artistic whimsy.
I had a lot of dishes that the names were landscape of this, or the colors of the sky, or the poem, and I thought, maybe I'm being ridiculous. I need to make food again.
He now says he creates dishes that pop, like his smoked avocado scaled sea bass or suckling pig belly with peppercorn sauce.
So we have here symbolizing the egg sweets and the monks and the nuns.
And his finish? A sweet egg cream with a story all its own.
When the monks needed the whites to prepare the clarified wine, the nuns would do the desserts with almond sugar and egg yolks.
His take on that history?
That we add a little bit of lemon on this sorbet. Of course, this is a shell made of sugar. Everything is edible.
You totally fooled me with that one. I wasn't expecting that.
Go for it.
Go for it. Go for it.
A little bit of salt, a little bit of lemon juice.
It's that fun and flavor that Avilush says defines his kitchen.
Watch.
A little bit too salty.
A little bit? I'm sorry.
So, as I told you before, I don't yell.
Oh, the pressure of a live audience.
Very, you're fired.
And while he lost a quarter of his restaurants in the pandemic, most of his staff remains.
I'm as good as my team. They truly believe in what I believe, that we can do it better, and then that we can show the Portuguese cuisine to the Portuguese people, but to the world.
So Chef Avilush says he'll keep smelling the roses and living in his passion.
Sometimes that you lose the pleasure of what you're doing because you're focused on the wrong things, that it's the guides, the lists, and sometimes that is only a balloon full of air. It's so important for you to keep smiling, to keep have pleasure of what you're doing, to keep working with your team, to have time for your family. So you need to take care of you.
After the break, we meet a chef leaving modern cuisine behind to focus on the food of his lesser-known roots. You're watching The Dish. The small country of Georgia has fewer than 4 million people, but their food and wine traditions are just as rich as those of a much larger nation. Chef Guram Bagdishvili's passion for food started in childhood, where he began hunting and cooking wild game at just 5 years old. He prioritizes traditional recipes at both of his restaurants and on his cooking show. Chris Livesay spoke with Bagdishvili over a few of the chef's favorite dishes.
There's a land that time forgot, but that a prodigal son remembered and is now on a mission to help others discover.
And your screen in your phone, Georgia, oh, this is what? It's US, Georgia. No, oh, it's country, it's small country. When you come, you will discover what is Georgia and how it's small country, but how it's big civilization.
Much like his country, Guram Bagdishvili is larger than life. One part Gordon Ramsay as the host of a TV cook-off show,
Chef Gamey.
and one part Anthony Bourdain, exploring Georgia's far reaches one bite at a time. Driven by a passion for food from his childhood.
As a boy, as a 5-6-year-old, yes.
Already at 5, you were cooking for
Exactly.
yourself.
First of all, I took like some animals in the mountains, and I cook.
So you would hunt the animals.
Exactly. Frogs and other snakes and this stuff. I cook and I bring my friends and I give food. And my mother beat me every day.
That is a very unique, I have to admit.
You kill somebody, don't do this anymore.
But at 13, the father who taught him to hunt died, turning Guram into a family breadwinner and setting him off on a journey to find a career and himself.
So you sold your VCR to buy a ticket to Moscow.
Exactly.
So what were you looking for?
I don't know. I'm like a river, you know?
You just go with the flow.
Exactly.
And the flow took you to Moscow.
Exactly.
He eventually sliced and diced his way west, cooking in some of Europe's top restaurants.
Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, Belgium. Georgian food without coriander, it's not food for
But after 20 years mastering international haute cuisine, he realized there was one country he'd overlooked, his own.
It's walled between two walls, Asia and Europe.
Between Europe and Asia, Georgia sits right there on the threshold. It sounds like Georgia was the original fusion cuisine.
Exactly. This is what I want to do. Now, last 7 years, I separate to modern cuisine and I push my traditional roads up.
Starting with hinkali.
Now it's time for the make grandmother's magic.
Dumplings made from fresh ground pork, beef, or lamb, hand-rolled, then boiled to perfection.
You've seen worse?
Yes, you have talent. You have talent.
I'm better at eating dumplings than making them, I think.
Yeah.
Next, a fresh dip called kali, made from pumpkin, hazelnut, pomegranate, and garlic, paired with croquettes coated in corn flour.
It looks like Mexican, you know?
I was good. Okay. I wanted to say that, but I didn't want you to roll your eyes. But it is sort of Mexican. Like there's that bean pork combination.
Cilantro.
And it's not like Mexico is on the border with Georgia.
Quesadilla, khachapuri.
Right.
Vanilla cheese.
That Georgian quesadilla? Khachapuri. Guram's version calls for puff pastry, stuffed and covered with stringy aged cheese. Like the one he makes here on his cooking show. And no Georgian meal would be complete without wine.
Imagine we are 8,000 vintage.
8,000
years, the Georgia.
Wine goes back 8,000 years in Georgia.
Yeah, Georgian style. Orange amber wine.
Like this color here.
If we make wine 8,000 years, how many thousand years we make Georgian food for good Georgian wine?
At least 8,000 years.
Cheers.
When you have that much history, Guram says the best thing a chef can do is get out of the food's way.
Don't change too much flavors.
When you eat this, do you feel at home?
Yeah, this is my message for customers. You must to feel your village, your grandma. Always any food must to be give you some sweet memories.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news, stream us right here on CBS News 24/7. I'm Dana Jacobson. We'll see you next time for another helping of The Dish.